Terry, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I am pleased to be here.
Anytime to get, we can have a client join the show, right? But really appreciate you contributing to the dialogue.
Absolutely.
We're talking all things RCM innovation, and you're an industry veteran and revenue cycle warrior. And so, is there any particular area of innovation, AI, machine learning, all these things that we're talking about that you're particularly excited about or trying to really leverage and take to the next level?
Oh, absolutely, I am. Definitely AI, of course, and RPA as well. Trying to get that moving at my organization, CHOC, Children's Hospital, Warren County. It's taking some time getting that moving. It's unfamiliar to legal.
Oh yeah.
And they have some issues with how we're going to pay for it, et cetera, on a per hit basis or a success basis, et cetera. And we just really need to get going in order to prove what's valuable to us and what's not valuable to us, because there's so much in small dollar amounts, really, and so many tedious tasks that the team can't get to.
Yeah.
We have a lot of volume.
Yeah.
It's tougher to work the small dollars. Only there's many of those unpaid small dollars. So definitely looking towards some RPA, et cetera. Yeah.
So I'm encouraged when I hear folks talk about volume coming back, because healthcare is a very local thing, right? So what happens in one market can be completely different in another local market. But so for Children's Hospital in Southern California, Orange County, volume's back, is what you're saying.
Volume is back. People are not afraid to come to the ED anymore.
Yeah.
And that's our quickest to bill and our quickest to get paid. But the volume is so huge that some of our mid-revenue cycle has a tougher time keeping up with getting those coded so we can get them out.
And is volume up because of like unscheduled procedures that, hey, we couldn't do them, and now folks are ready to do that?
I think so.
Yeah,
I definitely think so. Children, were not so affected by COVID. They were not the sick ones that we got to the hospital.
Yeah.
But they had televisits. They didn't come to the hospital like they were before.
Sure.
ED visits were way down, and now they're way up.
Yeah.
It's a good and bad thing.
Children's facilities have always had a special place in my heart. It was one of Children's Hospital of Oakland early in my career. Spent 7 months in the business office, doing processing, re-engineering, and a lot of revenue cycle work, and got to really understand that notion that a children's facility in many regards is different than a standard acute. That's why I'm excited about our partnership with you, because we want to bring best practices and cohorts, more our children's clients that we can bring together and say, we're having these particular issues. Because you guys do some very complex ICU work and NICU work.
We do.
And the way that you get paid and high cost drugs, it's a very, very specific issues in the revenue cycle that other folks, don't deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it requires a lot of pre-work, et cetera. We have a very significant government population,
Sure.
CCS for California. Yeah. So all those NICU babies that are born elsewhere end up coming to our hospital, sometimes uninsured, trying to get those patients insured if we can, and working on it. But we have very, very, very long lengths of stay with those children and have very significant claims.
Yeah.
Getting those claims paid is another issue.
Do you do any, out of curiosity, do you do any sessions with your colleagues in children's facilities, whether Children's Oakland, Seattle? Do you have separate meetings that you go to where you guys tackle like specific issues?
Yeah, they're online, and Ken and myself, my boss, Ken, we are part of a cohort for the Children's Hospital Association, and it's nationwide.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we were chatting earlier about just like challenges with payers, right? And we have this thing called Payer Action Center. You guys have kindly agreed to join the fun of that.
I can't wait.
And we're going to be like, taking the receivables and the data 837s and 835s and really looking at a better way to adjudicate and change behavior and move the needle. But I'm just curious, like what, it's always baffling, right? It should be simple. You have a contract, the rules are in there, and yet providers in so many cases, just don't get paid what they're contracted to get paid. And we all know there's just still to and fro in games that are played, how do we get beyond that?
You know what? I wish I knew the answer to that. And, actually the tool, Visquid, has actually helped us significantly to try to identify, if we have a pattern with those payers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what we figured out recently, because we haven't gone live yet with the Payer Action Center, is that the out-of-states blues, if I can say that, and the self-insured for them, tapping into that contract, are the toughest to get paid.
Yeah.
And then they may hit a stop loss, and it goes to another unit. Literally 6 months. Sometimes they start over, and that's problematic for us. And then when we do get the reimbursement, it's not what we expected for the contract.
Yeah.
And then we're having to send it out to an expert to.
And they're just short paying it. Are they doing hidden denials? You might bill a level 3 ER visit and they pay it at a 2 and things like that.
Yeah, but it's on our biggest dollar claim. It's always on NICU claims. The sickest babies, basically.
Your large, exactly.
Our complex, cancer diagnoses, patients, bone marrow transplants, that kind of thing. But really having a tough time, getting them paid.
Are you having to leverage like legal work too, like complex claims type of legal work?
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
There's opportunities to automate even things like TPL.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. You don't necessarily know it until you get to the, that the claim has been out there for so long, because we built it, to one of the majors, and we know that they're self-insured. We did everything right from the get-go, got the right authorizations, etc. But getting paid is problematic, and they're like, who's going to pay? Or now they're no longer self-insured. They're not a guarantee of payment, and so it's problematic. But
are you having any challenges with the AR? Even like balances, let's say between 100 and 1,000. We have a lot of clients that you look at AR over 90 and balances between $100 and $1,000. There's so much volume that there's labor shortages that it's hard to touch. Are you having challenges there too?
We're absolutely having challenges there. As I indicated when we talked a little bit earlier, that we have a claim rate in excess of 90%. We're pretty proud of that. Right?
Yeah, that's great.
And every day we bill out everything that we can, and everything that doesn't have a stop on it for an automatic hold on it. But our over 90 is averages 15 to 16%, which we're pretty pleased about that. Yet we have so much on the books that is old, and it is low dollar. Even with a vendor, an outside vendor doing separating the high dollar from the low dollar, we're just not getting those claims paid, and the staff don't work on them. They don't work on anything.
Well, that's what we're trying to do with Payer Action Center, right? Is say there's several use cases, but one of them is when there's AR over 90 and there's, let's say, let's just pick a number, 5,000 accounts, and there's no payments and no adjustments, right?
Right.
And you can show the payer like we provided the care, right? So we're trying to help, with like I call it bulk batch adjudication. Let's not do the one by one thing.
Yes.
And hey, if we have to get complex claims type attorneys to remind people about certain regs.
Yes.
So it's just trying to do settlement, payment settlement in a much more large batch.
That
so
sounds
we're not
wonderful, by the way.
Well, we're going to be very intense and purposeful about that. So I personally want to come down and visit you and like roll up the sleeves and even dig in, because I love to still drive product and innovation at the company and and stay involved.
We would love to have you in Orange County for sure.
Yeah. Well, my daughter went to Chapman, so the city of Orange is just such a special place.
It is. It is. There's some good places in Old Town Orange for us to
Absolutely.
visit there.
Yeah. One thing I've been asking folks is just, we have so much administrative waste in the revenue cycle. Depending upon what report you need, let's just call it $250 billion.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on revenue cycle waste and inefficiency? Like how much can we tackle waste by using new technologies in 5 years? Like what kind of dent can we make in this?
Oh God, I think there's really so many opportunities on the front end and the back end. And if we start at the back end, we should probably start at the front end, but we start at the back end. I really think there's so much repetitive work.
Yeah.
First line denials for pretty much no reason. Having multiple requests for medical record. You didn't get it. We have proof that you got it. We'll send it again, or now it's going to the stop loss unit or the high dollar unit.
Yeah.
You got to start all over, that kind of stuff. There's just so much manual intervention.
Yeah.
That's just seems like AI can help us with that, and that's what I'm really, hoping for.
Yeah, it's like taking all of those redundant clerical things,
Yes.
like if you have to fill out appeal forms and
Yes.
downgrade forms and stuff, and it's that classic letting people work to their skill out of their license.
Right.
You're right. There's just a sea of opportunity.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned, so you now have the front door of the revenue cycle.
I do.
And as we all know, it starts with,
Right.
I used to say, like, sometimes the back office wouldn't realize that, the front office,
Yeah.
half of the information that hits the claim is from admissions and registration, right?
Right.
So, that's under your purview, and
That's under my purview, and I had that at my former employer for a lot of years, and so Ken asked me to take that piece of it over,
Sure.
just because it was really impacting,
Yeah.
the revenue cycle side, and because just like other places that I've been, for some reason, the front end and the back end do not talk to one another, and they feel like they can't, like they've got to go to leadership. It's like you don't have to,
Yeah.
it's people and it's process.
One team.
Yeah, especially from the front end, right? And it's wrong information that's obtained, or not having the information in the get-go, like let's say an ED, and really follow it before you've got 4 days. We have a 4-day hold before it drops a claim, and you've got that time to fix it. And so you need to work, and we need to work, I should say, on some of those, tightening up some of those front end processes, registration, quality assurance, tooling, etc. We'd love to have some data from visit claim on the front end.
Are we getting the ADT feed? We'll just have to add that to the mix, right?
Yeah, let's add that to the mix.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, because you see so many times where the data signals is it a training issue, right? You might have a certain clinic that just there's 3 things that they're not doing that if they did would, move the needle in a big way.
Right.
Is there a problem in the way that the data is flowing? Is it a workflow issue? Is it a labor shortage issue? We also talked about, so you're working from home and force productivity, and I'm a big fan of going beyond just time and attendance and looking at gamification, and I call it the positive, side of Hawthorne effect. Like, let's light up the portfolio for staff so they can see where there's opportunity, right?
Yes.
I also wish we did more incentive-based payments for revenue cycle workers.
I agree.
I think we have to push beyond the typical, the union won't allow it, or the HR department. It's like, if you want to be competitive in this market, we're going to have to figure it out, right?
We have had turnover. It's incredible. And not just from the back end side, but bringing new employees. So, the long-termers that we've had have been adjusted well to being remote on the back end. However, new individuals that have come to work for us on the back side, not having had the training, the one-to-one training, et cetera, they've not stayed engaged, and we have had sort of a continuous cycle of rehiring. Also on the front end, I think, because it's been hard for them to be there, with all the they're not clinical people, of course, right?
Sure.
And to deal with upset, patients or parents for that matter, and the masks required still, et cetera. It's been hard. We've had a lot of turnover. And there's a lot of other, retail sometimes pays more than our entry level positions. And, we have a shortage in HR, as an example. And so getting those positions approved and offers out, et cetera, a lot of times it's too late. And those would-be new employees have gone elsewhere.
I've now heard that, over and over again, that whether it's, one gentleman said, Arby's pays better than revenue cycle people, and they actually give 2 more weeks of vacation. And so how are we going to compete with that if we don't change?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, to your point, hospitality, retail,
Yes.
and they're, it's a very competitive marketplace, and there's these gaps, right?
And not the stress too. So you
sure.
say Arby's, we talk about Target all the time when, we've just had our positions reviewed and what the community, was paying out there, et cetera. But you can compare us to another hospital organization, but it's the community, especially the younger generation that's coming in and
right.
working.
Yeah.
They get a lot of perks from,
they do
working there.
Yeah.
Don't have to
They want to be gamified.
Yeah.
Many times hospital HR is saying, well, we don't do that. And it's like, well, if you're going to hire folks that are in this demographic, I think you got to start thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's not that longevity or that loyalty for that matter because they're young. So,
anything else that we didn't talk about that you're passionate about in RCM, innovation, tech?
What I like to see is, the analytics are unbelievable. We don't even get productivity from our EMR, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, taken a big bite out of it for us, right?
Yeah.
And we're new on there. We haven't been live very, very long. We've been doing a lot of customization with the help of Stephen as an example, right?
Yeah.
But I would love to see the technology go from what we're doing, for example, in Payflow to actually automating it after that with some AI vendor, right, or some RPA to actually do what we need there instead of having to go back into the ER to send out a new claim or what have you. I would love to see that.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all there for the taking. Like Payflow and Payer Action Center are very malleable in how they're architected, so that we can explore art of the possible, and it's incremental improvements, right? Constant incremental improvements.
I'm waiting for Anna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's there.
Yeah, we haven't. She's not launched live, or maybe
she's not turned on yet.
Yeah, she's not turned on yet, and I've been waiting for her. That was my, from day one when Ken brought in Chris and some of the other guys. That was my big thing. I just loved it. I'd had an analytics tool where I'd been elsewhere, and had a tough time getting staff. Because it didn't write back that time. So it was, my big thing was Anna, and that file from Payflow writes back. And so we got one of those. We don't have Anna live yet.
Anna can be a leapfrog moment because getting your data, you're comfortable with the data set, and then starting to do the intent model and really train it and learn your pairs. I think we can have some great leapfrog moments.
I will be your best friend when that happens.
It's the idea of like, Anna, what's going on with Medicare bad debt? Like, Anna, what's happening with, or Anna, what are defects that were 3 points standard deviation from the mean? So asking, anomaly questions and look for patterns and where are my problem pairs? We're even trying to make Anna, like a lot of folks that are doing chatbots and cognitive, trying to make Anna as human as it can be, conversational. And so I think we started out, very scripted, right? And all of us in this chatbot world learned that it's better to be casual, just like, with Siri and things like that. Where's the closest Starbucks, right? Take some of that robotic stuff out.
Well, whatever I get from her, I know it's going to be good because I was so impressed from our very first encounter and demo when Chris came on site to show us. I was just very excited.
Well, thanks for joining this, and thanks for being a valued client. And the good news about the solutions that we're working on is they have so much potential for a constant ongoing innovation.
I agree. There's so much potential. It's incredible. Yeah. But already it has been made an amazing impact.
Thanks so much, Terry.
Thank you.